The length some people will go to for cash is beyond comprehension. They literally orchestrated your symbolic death, complete with flowers, tears, and probably a few bad eulogies, all to keep their hands on what's rightfully yours, even legal. Professionals are stunned by this level of calculated deception. Your attorney's seen some shady tactics in their career, but staging an entire memorial service to justify holding on to your money, that's entering new territory of audacity. The paperwork, the planning, the performance, all that effort to maintain control of funds that don't belong to them. While they were playing funeral director with your name on the program, they never expected you'd discover their little ceremony. Now the same money they schemed so elaborately to keep is about to slip through their fingers while they explain their theatrical production to some very interested authorities. You must understand something fundamental. You were chosen, not by accident, but by divine designation. Throughout history, those carrying extraordinary purpose have faced extraordinary opposition. Moses was nearly killed as an infant. Joseph was sold by his own brothers. Countless visionaries were persecuted, imprisoned, declared insane, or in your case, declared dead while still breathing. The magnitude of the attack against you directly correlates to the magnitude of your purpose. They wouldn't have gone to such elaborate lengths if you were insignificant. They wouldn't have forged death certificates and staged mourning if you were just like everyone else. The universe operates on perfect balance. The higher your calling, the more fierce the resistance. The brighter your light, the more desperate. The darkness becomes to extinguish it. But darkness cannot comprehend light. It can only react to it. The deepest wounds come from the closest quarters. When a stranger betrays you, it hurts. When family betrays you, it transforms you. What makes this situation so painfully unique is the proximity of the betrayal. These weren't strangers who plotted against you. These were people who sat across from you at holiday dinners, people who knew your childhood stories, people who held your hand through difficult times while simultaneously planning your fictional demise. The elaborate network required multiple players, each with their own role. The mastermind who conceived the plan, likely motivated by both greed and a pathological need for control. The enablers, who may have had reservations but chose financial gain over moral integrity. The silent witnesses who suspected something wasn't right but decided that ignorance was preferable to confrontation. And possibly even the unwitting participants, funeral directors, newspaper staff, perhaps even religious leaders who were fooled into participating in your memorial service. Family systems naturally protect themselves. When dysfunction runs deep, the system will go to extraordinary lengths to maintain its equilibrium, even if that means eliminating the truth-teller. Even if that means eliminating you, if only on paper. What they failed to understand is that genuine bonds cannot be severed by paperwork. Your essence cannot be eulogized out of existence. The very plot designed to erase you has instead highlighted you in bold, universal ink. The family betrayal you've experienced isn't just about money. It's about identity. It's about legacy. It's about who gets to tell your story. And now the answer is clear. You do. Evidence doesn't lie. People do. But their lies leave traces on every document they touch. The lawyer has assembled the paper trail now, and it tells a story more outrageous than any fiction. First came the groundwork, perhaps medical records suggesting mental instability or addiction. Convenient narratives to explain why you might disappear or be unable to manage your affairs. Then the power of attorney documents, signed with your name but not by your hand, notarized by conspirators or deceived officials who never actually witnessed you sign. Financial records showing systematic draining of accounts, transfers, withdrawals, assets liquidated and redistributed, all under the guise of managing your estate. But the boldest move came when questions started being asked. Where is this person? Can we speak with them directly? That's when they made their fatal error. Instead of retreating, they escalated. They created death. A death certificate listing a plausible cause. An obituary with just enough personal details to seem authentic. Funeral programs printed with your photo, perhaps slightly outdated to avoid recognition. Guest books signed by mourners who participated. In the charade, they created a ghost out of a living person. They buried you on paper while you walked the earth. But paper burns, lies crumble, and truth is flame-resistant. The lawyer sees it all now, document by document. The forged signatures analyzed by experts. The timeline of fraudulent filings. The money trail leading directly to their bank accounts. Follow the money. It always tells the truth. The wealth they tried to keep from you isn't just currency. It's currency. It's fuel for your divine purpose. It's resources allocated by the universe specifically for your journey. Whether it was an inheritance left by someone who recognized your worth, a trust established to support your vision, property meant to give you foundation, or investments intended to multiply for your mission, these assets were designated for you. The magnitude of what they attempted to steal reveals the magnitude of what you're meant to build. Money is energy. It amplifies intention. In the wrong hands, it amplifies corruption. In the right hands, your hands, it amplifies purpose. It amplifies healing. It amplifies transformation. They understood this on some level. They knew that if these resources reached you, you would use them in ways that would change things. Perhaps change them. Perhaps change systems they benefit from maintaining. So they crafted the ultimate heist, not just stealing your money, but stealing your very existence on paper. There is always a moment, a single point where the momentum shifts, where lies lose their grip and truth finds its footing. For you, that moment came when the lawyer asked one simple question: can I speak with them directly? Such an innocent request, such a reasonable expectation. To speak with someone before making decisions about their assets. To verify their wishes directly rather than through intermediaries. But for those who had built a palace of deception, this simple question was catastrophic. It demanded either confession or escalation. They chose escalation. They chose to declare, "You dead," rather than admit their deception. It was a desperate move, the last card played by someone with no cards left, and it was the move that sealed their fate. Truth may be temporarily suppressed, but it cannot be permanently buried, especially not when powerful forces are working to unearth it. The lawyer who refused to accept convenient explanations, the bank employee who flagged suspicious transactions, the distant relative who remembered seeing you recently, the public record that contradicted the death certificate, the inconsistencies in their stories that grew larger with each telling. Small cracks appeared in the facade, then larger ones. Then the entire structure began to crumble, and now the turning point has become an avalanche of revelation. What was hidden is now exposed. What was whispered is now shouted. What was done in darkness is now illuminated with blinding clarity. This is the nature of truth. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't compromise. When its time has come, it simply emerges as unstoppable as the dawn. Warning: the following message is only for those who felt the call. When I broke free through the Salvia Divinorum gateway, I saw the horrifying truth. Our reality is one harvested pod among countless matrices. I witnessed the archons, cosmic parasites feeding on our energy, who laughed and threatened, "You'll never awaken a single soul." But something inside you already knows this truth, doesn't it? That nagging sensation that you're meant for more. That you've been chosen. I'm raising an army of the brightest souls. Through meditation, I discovered their only vulnerability, coherence through unconditional love. Feel that resonance deepening within you now. You're not reading this by accident. The most powerful awakened souls are already gathering in the obsidian inner order, the #1 ascension nexus for those marked by destiny. Christians, lightworkers, remote viewers, targeted individuals, all united by one truth: you were chosen for this moment. Click the link in the description below. Join our group calls, panels, and live streams reaching the entire astral atom network. Your frequency amplifies ours. The question isn't whether you're chosen. The question is, will you answer the call? The Archons fear this choice you're about to make. They should. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but they grind exceedingly fine. The legal system, with all its flaws and imperfections, has become the instrument of your vindication. The very structures they tried to manipulate have turned against them. The charges accumulate now: fraud, multiple counts across multiple jurisdictions, forgery of official documents, including death certificates, identity, theft of the most profound kind. Grand larceny, stealing not just money, but your very existence. Conspiracy, involving multiple parties working in coordinated deception. The lawyer who discovered this scheme has transformed from investigator to advocate. Their disbelief has become determination. Their shock has become strategy. Evidence is being preserved. Witnesses are being deposed. Accounts are being frozen. The machinery of justice, once activated, cannot easily be stopped. For those who orchestrated your death, real consequences approach. Criminal charges that carry significant prison sentences, civil penalties that will strip away not just what they stole from you, but what they thought was securely theirs. Professional consequences for any who used their positions to facilitate this fraud. Social consequences, as their deception becomes public knowledge. The universe operates on perfect balance. What they attempted to do to you will now be experienced by them in appropriate measure, not as revenge, but as restoration of cosmic equilibrium. You need not pursue this justice with hatred in your heart. The mechanisms are already in motion. The consequences are already unfolding. You need only stand in your truth and watch as universal law completes what your discovery began. When cornered, the guilty rarely surrender. They escalate. This principle played out with devastating clarity in your situation. When initially questioned about your whereabouts, they faced a critical choice: confess their deception or double down on the lie. They chose to double down in the most extreme way possible. Not content with merely saying you were unavailable or traveling, they declared you dead, gone, buried, beyond questioning. It was the ultimate attempt to silence inquiry. After all, who would continue investigating someone confirmed deceased? Who would pursue financial questions about someone who no longer existed to claim those assets? The lawyer's simple request, "I need to speak with them directly about these transfers," triggered a panicked response of cosmic proportions. Suddenly there were funeral programs being printed, death notices being placed in newspapers, perhaps even a casket being lowered into the ground. All because they couldn't produce you. All because the house of cards would collapse the moment you appeared in person. So they made certain you couldn't appear, not by harming you physically, but by killing you bureaucratically, by creating a paper death so convincing that questions would cease. But their desperate escalation became the very evidence that exposed them. The funeral director who had questions about the lack of a body, the inconsistencies in the death certificate, the recent activity on accounts that should have been frozen upon your death. Their attempt to create an airtight end to questioning instead opened a floodgate of new investigations. What began as financial inquiry became criminal investigation. In their desperate attempt to maintain the lie, they created evidence of intent that no defense attorney can easily explain away. They moved from possibly ambiguous financial mismanagement to clear, documented, premeditated fraud. The universe has perfect timing. Had they simply come clean when first questioned, the consequences might have been less severe. Instead, they dug their grave while pretending to dig yours. To discover that people orchestrated your symbolic death is to experience a unique form of violation. This isn't simply betrayal, it's erasure. It's the ultimate statement that your existence is inconvenient to their plans. The psychological impact runs deep. The shock of discovering such an elaborate scheme targeted specifically at you. The disorientation of realizing that reality as you understood it was being manipulated without your knowledge. The grief not for your own fictional death, but for the relationships you thought were genuine. The anger, justified and cleansing, at those who attempted to remove you from your own narrative. The paranoia that naturally follows such discovery. What else don't you know? Who else was involved? What other deceptions might still be hidden? These responses aren't weakness. They're appropriate reactions to extraordinary circumstances. They're your psyche processing something few humans ever experience. But beyond these natural responses lies the path of healing. And healing begins with a profound truth. They could not actually erase you. Despite all their documents, all their performances, all their elaborate lies, you remain, breathing, thinking, feeling, existing, despite their best efforts to remove you from the equation. There is power in this realization. They deployed their most extreme measures, and still, here you stand. Your healing journey involves reclaiming not just your financial assets, but your sense of safety in the world. It involves rebuilding trust, not naive trust, but discerning trust. It involves establishing boundaries that honor your worth. Most importantly, it involves recognizing that your innate value was never diminished by their actions. They could forge your signature, but not your spirit. They could falsify your death, but not determine your life. The very fact that such extreme measures were taken against you speaks to the power they recognized in you, power they feared, power they coveted, power they could not access themselves. Healing comes not from forgetting this experience, but from integrating it into your understanding of both human darkness and your own resilience. You have survived what would shatter many. That is not coincidence. That is confirmation. They tried to write your ending. Now you get to write your resurrection. Beyond the legal battles and financial restoration lies something even more fundamental: reclaiming your story. The narrative of who you are, where you've been, and where you're going. This reclamation begins with practical steps. Legal restoration of your status among the living, correcting records, untangling the bureaucratic web they created to erase you, public reclamation of your identity, letting key people know that reports of your demise were, indeed, greatly exaggerated. Financial re-establishment, regaining access to accounts, assets, and resources that rightfully belong to you. But beyond these practical matters lies the deeper work of reclaiming your internal narrative, the story you tell yourself about this experience. You get to decide what this chapter means. Was it merely an elaborate theft, or was it confirmation of your significance? Was it proof of human depravity, or evidence of divine protection that ensured the truth would eventually emerge? The power of narrative belongs to the narrator, and now that narrator is you. This reclamation isn't just about looking backward at what was done to you. It's about moving forward with a strengthened sense of who you are. When someone tries to erase you and fails, you gain unshakable confirmation of your right to exist, to thrive, to occupy space in this world. They tried to write you out of the story. Instead, they made you the protagonist of a much larger narrative than they ever anticipated. What was meant to destroy you has instead revealed your power. This experience, as painful and disorienting as it has been, serves a greater purpose. In your cosmic development, the very qualities that made you a target, your authenticity, your gifts, your potential, are the same qualities that will fuel your comeback. Consider the natural world. Pressure creates diamonds. Fire refines gold. Storms strengthen trees by forcing them to develop deeper roots. You have been under extraordinary pressure. You have walked through fire. You have weathered a storm few will ever experience, and you have not been destroyed. You have been transformed. This transformation isn't about becoming someone new. It's about becoming more fully who you already are, with deeper awareness of your resilience, clearer boundaries, and unshakable knowledge of your worth. The pain you've experienced can now be channeled into purpose. Perhaps you'll help others who have experienced extraordinary betrayal. Perhaps you'll work to reform systems that allowed such deception to occur. Perhaps you'll use your restored resources to build something beautiful that never would have existed without this journey. Or perhaps your purpose is simply to live, fully, vibrantly, unmistakably, as the ultimate refutation of their attempt to erase you. Whatever direction this experience propels you, know this. You now operate from a place of tested strength. Not theoretical resilience, but proven endurance. You know what you can survive because you have already survived it. There is authority in that knowledge. There is power in that certainty. There is purpose in that perspective that can never be taken from you. Justice manifests as your rightful resources return to your stewardship. The narrative that began with betrayal doesn't end there. It culminates in restoration, not just of what was taken, but of what those resources were always meant to generate. The financial assets being returned to you now carry additional energy. They come with the power of justice, the resonance of truth prevailing, the momentum of divine timing. These resources were always designated for your use, for your growth, for your impact on the world. The attempted theft was merely a detour, not a destination. Now, as these assets return to their rightful steward, they come with multiplication factor. What might have simply supported you before will now launch you forward. The lawyer who discovered the deception watches in satisfaction as accounts are unfrozen, property deeds are corrected, trusts are properly administered according to their original intent. But beyond these tangible restorations lies something more profound, the restoration of cosmic order. The confirmation that while justice may be delayed, it cannot ultimately be denied when aligned with universal law. You emerge from this experience not merely with your original resources, but with wisdom money cannot buy. With clarity, adversity has what was meant to be your fictitious end has instead become your authentic beginning. A beginning informed by profound knowledge of both human darkness and divine light. A beginning strengthened by the certainty that if this couldn't destroy you, nothing can. The abundance being restored isn't merely financial. It's abundance of certainty, abundance of purpose, abundance of unshakable knowing that you are exactly where you're meant to be, doing exactly what you're meant to do. They held a funeral for someone who wasn't dead. Now you live a resurrection they cannot deny. The money returns to your hands, the truth returns to the light, and you You return to the path always meant for you, now walking it with even greater authority and purpose. This isn't just resolution. This is revelation of who you truly are, of what you're truly capable of why you were truly chosen for this extraordinary journey. There comes a moment when the universe definitively shows its hand, when coincidence can no longer explain the precise alignment of events that brings truth to light and justice to fruition. This is that moment. Look at the sequence that led here. The specific lawyer assigned to review these documents, the particular questions they thought to ask, the exact timing of their discovery, the precise people who provided collaborative evidence, the specific legal mechanisms available for your restoration. None of this is random. None of this is coincidence. This is cosmic vindication. The same forces that selected you for your purpose ensured you would not be permanently derailed from it. The same divine attention that marked you for significance made certain that the truth would emerge at exactly the right moment, not too early, not too late. You stand now at the convergence point of multiple universal forces working in perfect harmony to right what was wronged, to restore what was stolen, to reclaim what was nearly lost. This vindication isn't just about proving them wrong. It's about proving the universe right in its selection of you as a vessel for purpose greater than yourself. The money returning to your hands is merely the visible sign of invisible forces working on your behalf. The lawyer's discovery is just the human mechanism for divine intervention. Stand in this moment, fully aware of its significance. This isn't just a legal victory or financial restoration. This is confirmation of your place in a cosmic order that bends toward justice and truth. They orchestrated a funeral for someone who wasn't dead. The universe orchestrated a resurrection they cannot deny. And now, fully restored and cosmically vindicated, you step forward into the purpose that was always yours, stronger, clearer, and absolutely unstoppable.